Hello again, folks, and welcome to Black Bear Outdoors. Now, today's cleaning day again, and I do want to apologize if my voice sounds a little bit weird. I'm a little bit under the weather today, but that won't stop us from showing you guys how we clean our AR-15 pattern rifles and pistols. So, with any cleaning video, you're going to have the people telling me I'm doing it wrong. I'm not saying the way that you're doing it wrong. All I'm saying is there's a number of different ways to do this. This is just how I do it, and I've been doing it for over a decade, and my rifles run really, really well. I must warn you, I do like running my bolts quite wet, especially if it's a new rifle, and it cuts down on some of the break-in issues that you might find. All right, so let's jump straight into it. So what are you going to need to clean your AR? Now, firstly, we're going to use break-free CLP. This has been used by the military for decades, so you can be assured that it works really well. I'm also going to be using a Hoppe's branded bore snake. This is the 22 caliber. I believe it says M1622-.225. So I like using the branded one because I've heard some horror stories of the off-brand ones that break. Then I'm also going to use a little polymer brush. This is part of an AR-15 cleaning kit, but you can buy these on Amazon for next to nothing. I'm going to use a microfiber cloth, and I'm also going to use a variety of different Q-tips. Now, I am going to be wearing gloves today. It's not necessary at all. It's just because we're going to be dealing with a lot of oil. I like to kind of keep things as clean as possible. So let's get straight into it. All right, guys, so firstly, to disassemble your AR, what you want to do is you want to push the little pins out. If your pins are a little bit sticky, you can use a tip of a bullet or anything. We're just going to separate the upper and the lower. Sorry, I'm working around the camera here. And we're going to set the lower aside for just a little bit and focus on the upper first. In order to remove your bolt carrier, you just pull back on the charging handle, and that will slide straight out the back, both of them. I do apologize if there's any dog hair on camera. I've got a husky and he likes to shed. All right, so we'll put these aside for now. We'll start with the upper receiver. So what I do, a lot of people use patches and things like that. I don't really. What I do is I take some CLP and I spray it down the barrel. So that way, it's going to flow right down the barrel, and I'm going to leave it in there for a little bit so that it can remove any excess carbon or whatever that's built up in there, right? We'll get back to that now. Next up is going to be our bolt carrier. So disassembling the bolt carrier is pretty easy. However, not a lot of people know how to do it when they get their first AR. But I'm going to try and show you guys around a camera here. So first thing you want to do is you want to remove this little cotter pin. Sometimes you need something just to pry it out a little bit. And once that's removed, just set that aside, don't lose that. You're going to notice that the firing pin just drops out. You can see that's nice and dirty. Next up, we want to remove our bolt head. So to do that, you just take this cam pin here and you twist it to 90 degrees, and that should come out pretty easily. Again, guys, I'm trying to do this around the camera, and there you go, cam pin is out, and now you can remove the bolt. So that is a disassembled bolt carrier group for you. All right, so first thing I do, guys, I grab some CLP, I spray it in here to get it working on that carbon in there. I get a little bit on the bolt here. Like I said, I go heavy on the CLP because it's clean, lube, and protect, right? Okay, next up I'm going to grab my microfiber cloth, and I'm going to start wiping down this firing pin. They're usually stainless steel, so they tend to clean up pretty easy. And just give that a good wipe, get all the carbon off of it. Set that aside. Grab grab that cam pin, give that a good wipe down. And now for the bolt. I'm going to grab my little brush and I'm going to go to town on it a little bit, scrubbing it down. Making sure you get in between those lugs there. You don't have to worry too much about this part I'm scrubbing down right now. If it's got a lot of rounds on it and you see some severe buildup there, then you can get a carbon scraper or something and get that off, but that's not really going to make a difference. Importantly are these lugs here in the bolt face. You don't want to get that bolt face too wet, so I'm just going to wipe it off with the cloth there. And what I'm going to do next, guys, I'm just going to go with a little Q-tip and go in between those little lugs. Making sure I get all the carbon off of it. Okay. I don't usually take the extractor off, but if you want to, you can push that little pin out, take the extractor out and clean that out as well. I don't normally do that unless it's absolutely necessary. Next up, I'm going to grab one of my fat Q-tips and I'm going to go into the bolt carrier where the bolt rides and get some of that carbon out of there. As you can see, it's nice and dirty in there. I'm just going to clean that out as best I can. They're usually chrome lined. It kind of depends on which kind of bolt carrier you have, but most of the ones I've seen are chrome lined on the inside there. And then what I also do is I grab some CLP and I'm going to get it on the actual carrier. Give that a bit of a scrub down. And then grab our cloth and wipe down the excess CLP off of it. Next up, guys, is our bolt face, or our bolt head, sorry. I'm just going to wipe that down with our microfiber cloth there. You'll see the CLP leaves a residue on it like a film, so it looks kind of shiny, but that does lubricate it as well. If you want, you can put some extra lubrication on there, but at this point I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Alright, so let's reassemble our bolt carrier. So you want to get your bolt in there so you can line up the hole there. You'll see there's a hole on this hole. You want to line up with that one, and you want to get your cam pin back in there. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to do around the camera. Once you've slid your cam pin back in there, all you need to do is turn it sideways and you can do a bit of a function test like that. Now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to drop our firing pin back in there and we will put our cotter pin back. There we go. So function test, it's running quite well. Now I'm going to give it a wipe down once again. And we are going to put our bolt carrier aside for a moment. Now going back to our upper receiver, I'm going to grab my brush and I'm going to get into that receiver a little bit with the CLP. Trying to get rid of any carbon buildup or copper shavings or brass shavings that you might have in there. What I like to do is I like to grab one of these big Q-tips and go into the breech there a little bit as well, trying to get some of that fouling out of there. And as you can see, it's pretty filthy in there. There you go. Next up, guys, I'm going to take my bore snake. Now, for brevity's sake, I'm not going to make you watch me clean this out properly, but you get the idea. I'm going to grab my bore snake. And again, guys, this is the Hoppies branded one. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to thread it through. Oh, making sure there's not a knot in it. Gonna thread it through. Now once the tip comes out the other end, you just grab it and we pull it through. I usually do this a couple of times. And that should clean out your barrel pretty well. Yeah, because these bore snakes have little brushes and bristles and polishers on them. So it's a really easy way to do that. You can do this with patches as well if you like. I'm a little bit lazy, so I like just running the bore snake through it a couple of times there. And then we'll pull it through again. And that should leave us with a clean barrel. So let's put this one aside there for a second. Now we're heading to the lower receiver. All right, so now that we have the lower receiver, what I like to do is I'll spray just a little bit of CLP there where the trigger is. Get in there with a little brush. Remove some of that carbon. And then with the regular size Q-tip, I go back in there and try and get some of that CLP out and some of the carbon fouling. Now, Mr. Geisley himself from Geisley Triggers says that it is a good idea to have some carbon on your trigger because it smooths it out a little bit. And that's kind of all I do, guys. I'm just gonna get some of the gunk out there. Make sure to leave some CLP in there to lube it a little bit. Next, I'll grab the charging handle and just give that a little wipe with a Q-tip as well. Clean that out. Pretty easy and simple. All right. So now it's time to reassemble, guys. So remember, when you reassemble your upper receiver, you want to grab your bolt carrier and you want to pull the bolt head or the bolt out forward. And we are going to put our charging handle in first. And then it slots down in there. Then we're going to put our bolt carrier in and we're just going to tap it in. You can feel it click in there, right? Now what I like to do, and I know this may be a little bit overkill, is I like to put a little bit of CLP on the bottom here. There we go. And that just lubes it a little bit more for me. Next up, guys, we are gonna put the lower and the upper back together again, just by lining up our pins and putting them back in. And there we are, fully assembled again. Now, guys, you may have noticed that I didn't do anything to the buffer tube. If you've got like a whole bunch of rounds through it, you can take out the buffer spring and the buffer and maybe gonna give that a wipe down as well. But at this point, I don't see it necessary at all. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give it a wipe down on the outside. Just get any kind of fingerprintiness off of it, just maybe so it looks nice. Get some excess CLP that might be seeping through out there. Like I said, guys, I like to run my bolt wet. It cuts down on some of the break-in issues, especially if it's a new firearm. And again, I apologize if there's any dog hair around. So let's do a little function test real quick. All right, safety on. Safety off. And there you go. So there you go, folks. That is a clean AR-15 platform ready for your next range day. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. If you learned anything new today, please give us a thumbs up, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're very impressed with us, you can also hit that super thanks. That'll help us out to get more gear for the channel. And remember, all the support you show us translates into support for 2A type of content on the algorithm. As always, you guys stay safe, and we'll see you next time.